communications campaigns with podcast to post-it notes, social learning to songs, e-learning and everything in between. These are the tools of communications and learning agency Acteon, which integrates communication campaigns with wider learning and e-learning interventions to help to deliver behavioural change in the workplace. But what really makes Acteon's approach different? And how does it help to deliver impact, performance and bottom line results? I spent some time with two of Acteon's people, consultant Rebecca Trigg, who's helping Co-op to change workplace behaviours for thousands of its staff around how they handle cash. First, I asked managing partner Owen Rose, going into 2022, how workplace learning is changing.
It's a hugely challenging time, I think, for businesses in general and for learning and development too. But over the last couple of years, it's been crazy. You know, the levels of uncertainty, the levels of change that the pandemic has introduced, and that might be in terms of finance, in terms of markets, in terms of recruitment and retention, in terms of changing regulations. So the need for agility and responsiveness is just very, very high at the moment. I think that there's rightly a greater focus on employee time and well-being. You know, new patterns of working have really put a focus on thinking about how colleagues are going to access learning, how it fits into their day, how much time they're going to spend on it. So that's really, really important. I think that drive for greater agility and being able to show impact is making clients think even more about bite-sized, chunked-up learning. There's heavy influence from social media, of course, where we used to formats like TikTok and even YouTube and things like that, which that's how people are consuming content now. That trend's been happening for a while, but it's kind of increased rapidly with these current pressures. And I think overall it is just that sense that we need to move faster. We need to do more with less. Organisations, I think, are beginning to embrace ideas about fast fail, things like that, where you're going to get something into place, you're going to try it. If it doesn't work quite as well as you thought, you're going to adapt it. You're going to try again. You're going to do something different. But it's all about speed and agility, I think, for businesses in general and for learning and development too.
How is Acteon responding to this?
Well, actually, for us, it's kind of, we haven't really had to change what we do, but we find what we do is resonating even more. Because at Acteon, we take a behavioural approach. So when a client comes to us with a business need, whatever that's in, whether it's in compliance or leadership or change or onboarding, we encourage them to think, what is it that people actually need to do in order to give the outcomes that you want? To make them successful, to make the business successful. So we're focused on those moments that matter, those moments where what people do really makes a difference to the outcome. And then once we've encouraged our clients to really focus on those moments that matter, we work with them to understand, well, what's actually happening there? What is influencing the choices that people make in the behaviours that they use? You might think, typically L&D is focused a lot on capability. So in that moment that matters, you have the right skills. You understand what you need to do, and that's very important, and that's very much what we're involved in, building capability. But there's more to it than that. The way that human beings behave in any given moment is not just about their capability, it's about their motivation. Do they want to do this thing? Do they understand the importance of this thing? And it's also about what we think about as opportunity. Do they have the opportunity to do the thing that you want them to do? Do they have the right equipment? Are they in the right place at the right time? So you need to think about those key moments in terms of capability, yes, but also motivation and opportunity. And we've always encouraged clients to think that way, because doing that allows you to be more focused on impact and more agile in the things that you do. By focusing on behaviour, you're focusing on what actually makes the difference. And then you can think about targeting the learning and development or communication interventions that you use to influence that behaviour. So typically what we find sometimes with maybe what we might call a traditional learning and development engagement is, that it'll be decided, this needs to be an e-learning module, or this should be a virtual workshop or something like that. And then quite a lot of time is spent crafting that solution. That's where the investment of time and resources goes. when in fact it maybe wasn't the ideal solution in the first place to change the behaviour that's actually required. So we encourage our clients to spend a bit more time up front, we work with them closely, we work collaboratively with them to build the insight that helps us identify the interventions, whether that be communication intervention or a learning intervention, that are really going to have the greatest impact on behaviour. And then we target what we do on changing that behaviour. And that means we can be more targeted, more efficient in what we deliver. That saves time, it saves resources, it saves money, and it means you're much more focused on delivering impact.
Learning projects are often seen as projects that come out of the LMS or that are delivered in the classroom. And I think what we've seen more of over the last few years really is that kind of breadth of channels that is really widened. So what used to be, and still is really valid to still have a learning module that sits on the LMS that people can see. It's been tracked, it's been used, that's great. But it's about kind of really thinking, okay, what are the things we really want to influence? And are there opportunities for us to do that in different channels? So across a wider variety of formats, I think, and variety of channels. So we often talk about campaign learning. So that is thinking, okay, you've got the LMS, you're going to do your kind of capability piece there. That's where you upskill people, new products, new systems, things that people have sort of limited knowledge of. So that's great for the LMS. But actually, what about those things that require people to be suddenly really engaged in or motivated to do something about? And those kind of projects, I suppose, they work in a more of a campaign approach. So that is thinking, okay, so we've got the LMS, but what other channels can we tap into? I think we do a lot of campaign learning now for big clients because people recognise the fact that we are, as I said, human and forgetful and distracted. So how do you make sure it grabs people's attention and then we're reminded of that constantly? So whether that's a poster on a toilet door or whether that's a song that's playing on the radio. We did a great project with the Co-op last year for a massive transformation project, business transformation, where they had a new piece of hardware and software for cash management, Smart Cash, and we really unpicked the key behaviours that were required at different stages of that project, and we used techniques like, we used the LMS to make sure people knew what the new skills and the new system, we needed to make sure people had that capability. But actually we did a song as well that was all about getting into the groove, putting the notes into the groove. It was a kind of sound-alike Madonna song that I think it really grabbed people's attention and it felt different, and the Co-op were able to campaign with that. So we had things like looping GIFs on their Yammer site, they were using WhatsApp channels, they were using LinkedIn to post stories about it, and it all had that kind of that feel like an advertising campaign. If you think about how advertisers and marketers use their channels, I think L&D, there's a real opportunity for us to do the same, to sort of think beyond the LMS and beyond virtual classroom, and just being there to remind people of those specific behaviours. That's the kind of way that thinking about behaviour change and motivation, capability and opportunity. It's about really trying to understand the gaps for people and really acknowledging what it means to be a normal human, a normal busy human who can't remember everything that they were told in a 20-minute learning module. It's about unpicking those key bits and putting it into the environment to help people do the right thing at the right time.
How might learning and development better demonstrate the impact of what it does?
Evaluation is key. And particularly what we mean by evaluation is evaluating the impact that you've delivered for the business in helping achieve its goals. I think often with learning and development, evaluation has tended to focus around, happy sheets after the learning has been delivered, or maybe, bums on seats in classrooms. And that's not unimportant, that's part of evaluation. But we really work hard with clients to go beyond that and say, how can we find and design in the measures that are going to tell us, are the things that we're doing helping to change behaviour, helping people to do the right things, and then ultimately making a difference for the business and helping it meet its objectives. So we work on that from the start of the project. So evaluation begins at the beginning, designing those methods, those approaches into the project so that the figures are available when you need them. And it's not only about demonstrating impact to the business, it's also about using those evaluation measures to refine what you're doing, to try and continually improve and optimise the solution so you're delivering as much impact as possible.
Such a crucial part of what our industry must get right, and thank you. And Owen, it's been a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me at Learning News.
Great, it's a pleasure.